We've all been there. You meet someone and everything feels right. The chemistry, the connection, the potential. You want more. Maybe you're ready for something real, something deep, something secure. But then comes the sting. He's not ready. And suddenly you're left in a half relationship, stuck in the grey area between almost and never. And here's where the mistake happens. Instead of pulling back, we lean in. We start chasing. We try harder. We think if we can just love him better, prove we're worth it, be more patient, then maybe, just maybe, he'll choose us the way we're choosing him. But here's the truth no one tells you. Chasing a man who's not ready doesn't get you closer to what you want. It gets you further from yourself. If you want more from a man who's not ready, don't chase. Do this instead. First, accept this one uncomfortable truth. Desire is not the same as readiness. He may want you. He may even care about you. But wanting someone is not the same as being ready to love them right. And if you're ignoring the red flags because you're clinging to the connection, you're investing in a future that only exists in your head. Stop trying to manage his confusion with your clarity. Just because you know what you want doesn't mean you can drag someone there with you. Here's what you do instead. You stop giving him the benefits of a relationship without the responsibility of one. That means you don't keep showing up with all your energy, your time, your heart, hoping that one day he'll give you more than crumbs. You pull back. You create space. You let him experience what life is like without your constant emotional labor. Not to manipulate, not to punish, but to protect yourself. Because when someone says, I'm not ready, what they're really saying is, I can't give you what you deserve. And your job isn't to change their mind. It's to believe them the first time. Let go of the story that if you wait long enough, he'll catch up. That's a story we tell ourselves because it's less painful than walking away. But walking away isn't weak. It's the strongest move you can make when someone can't meet you where you stand. The right man won't need convincing. And the wrong one won't become right just because you stayed. Instead of trying to get more from a man who isn't ready, get more from your own life. Pour into yourself. Reconnect with your value. Set a new standard. When you shift your energy away from trying to earn love and instead embody what it means to be loved, everything changes. You'll find peace in the clarity. You'll find power in the silence. And here's the thing. When you stop chasing, you give him a chance to step up or step aside. And either outcome is a win. Because clarity is always better than confusion. Closure is always better than dragging something that never really began. The moment you stop begging for more is the moment you become more. More powerful, more grounded, more attractive to someone who's actually capable of loving you. So don't chase. Don't convince. Don't prove. Stand still in your worth. Because the man who's ready won't run from that. He'll rise to meet it. When you find yourself wanting more from someone who isn't ready, it can feel like emotional whiplash. One moment you're sharing a beautiful connection, the next you're hit with hesitancy, distance, or mixed signals. It's confusing, it's frustrating, and it can leave you questioning yourself. Am I asking for too much? Am I moving too fast? Should I just wait a little longer? But here's something important to understand. The issue is not that you want too much. The issue is that you're asking someone who isn't ready to give it. Desire and readiness are not the same thing. Just because someone likes you, enjoys spending time with you, or even says they care about you does not mean they are emotionally equipped to give you the love and commitment you deserve. And often we conflate these two things. We assume that desire will eventually lead to readiness, that if the connection is strong enough, the commitment will follow. But that's not always how it works. Emotional readiness is about where someone is in their life, mentally, emotionally, practically. And it doesn't matter how deeply they care if they haven't reached a place in their life where they're able and willing to show up consistently and build something real. You may be holding on to this person because of how good things feel when they're good. Maybe it's the way he looks at you. Maybe it's how safe or alive or wanted he makes you feel when he's present. Maybe it's the late night conversations or the little gestures that whisper the possibility of something more. But then he pulls away. He hesitates. He gives you just enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to fully build something secure. So you double down, you stay longer, you excuse the inconsistency because you think if he really didn't care, he wouldn't still be here. If I hang in there just a bit more, maybe he'll come around. This is where the trap lies, in believing that your love or your patience can transform someone else's readiness. That if you're just kind enough, supportive enough, low mental enough, then eventually he'll become the man you need him to be. But relationships don't work that way. Readiness isn't something you can give to someone. It's something they have to come into on their own. When a man isn't ready, it's not because you're lacking anything. It's not because you didn't do enough or because you asked for too much. It's simply because he's not in a place to give you the kind of relationship you want. And no amount of staying, waiting, or trying harder is going to change that. To separate your worth from his readiness, his inability to commit, to be clear, to show up fully, that's not a reflection of your value. That's a reflection of where he is. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to need emotional consistency, depth, effort, and intention. You're allowed to walk away from someone who cannot meet you there, even if you care deeply for them. Sometimes the kindest, most loving thing you can do, both for yourself and for the other person, is to stop asking for more from someone who has already shown you their limit. Not to punish them, not to make a point, but to honor yourself, because continuing to ask, continuing to push, continuing to hope, it costs you your peace. It pulls you out of alignment with your own needs, and slowly it chips away at your sense of self-worth. You don't need to become smaller just to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You don't need to silence your needs just because someone else isn't ready to meet them. Love isn't about earning someone's commitment by proving how patient, understanding, or easygoing you can be. Love is about mutual effort, mutual timing, mutual desire. If you're ready and they're not, that's not your fault. It's just not a match. We sometimes romanticize the idea of potential, what someone could be if only they got their life together, if only they healed, if only they saw what was right in front of them. But relationships don't exist in potential. They exist in reality. And in reality, you need someone who is emotionally available now, not eventually. Someone who's not afraid to commit, who doesn't see your standards as pressure, but as a clear sign that you know what you want. Letting go of someone you care about because they're not ready is one of the hardest things to do. It's tempting to wait, to hold on just a little longer, to keep the hope alive that they'll change. But hope can become a prison when it keeps you stuck in something one-sided. And if you're the only one carrying the emotional weight of the relationship, that's not love. That's imbalance. You deserve someone who meets your emotional investment. Someone who doesn't just say they care, but shows it in the way they show up, in the way they prioritize you, in the way they don't leave you second-guessing your place in their life. So if you find yourself wanting more from someone who isn't ready, don't internalize that as your failure. Don't chase them. Don't shrink yourself to fit into their indecision. Stand firm in what you know you need. Not because you're trying to pressure anyone, but because you've done the work to recognize your value. And that value doesn't need to be proven to someone who isn't even in a place to see it. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from someone who isn't bad, but simply isn't ready. And in doing so, you leave room for the person who is. When someone isn't ready to give you what you need, the instinct is often to try harder. You tell yourself that maybe if you just communicate better, become more understanding, give them more space or more love, they'll finally realize what they have in you. So you lean in, you send the extra message, you wait by your phone, you overthink your words, you chase, not in an obvious way, but emotionally, energetically, hoping that your persistence will turn the tide. But the truth is this: when someone isn't ready, leaning in doesn't pull them closer, it pushes them further away. It sounds counterintuitive because we've been conditioned to believe that effort equals results. That if you want something, you fight for it. You don't give up. You stay consistent, loyal, present. And yes, in the right relationship, effort is beautiful. Effort is necessary. But when you're investing energy in someone who isn't emotionally available, your effort doesn't build intimacy. It creates imbalance. When you chase someone who isn't ready, you begin to perform. You start to show up in ways that aren't natural, not because you're manipulative, but because you're trying to earn love. You ignore the discomfort of your unmet needs. You silence the part of you that wants clarity, commitment, stability, because you don't want to scare them off. You over-manifest, hoping they'll meet you in the middle, but they rarely do. Not because they don't like you, but because they feel no need to change. You're doing all the work for both of you. You become the emotional engine while they coast. And the more you chase, the more they retreat. Maybe subtly, maybe dramatically. You start to feel like you're asking for too much, when all you're really doing is asking for the bare minimum. A message back, a plan for the future, a moment of clarity. And every time you don't get it, you push harder, not realizing that what you're really doing is negotiating your own worth. Pulling back is not about playing games. It's not about trying to get a reaction or provoke guilt. It's about stepping out of a dynamic that isn't serving you. It's about reclaiming your energy, your dignity, and your emotional peace. When you pull back, you create space. And that space does something very powerful. It reveals the truth. If someone truly wants you in their life, they'll feel that space and respond, not with words, but with action. They'll show up differently because they'll realize that your presence is not something they can just expect. It's something they have to earn. But if they don't respond, if they let the silence grow, if they move on without hesitation, that's your clarity, as painful as it may be. Because the person who can let you go without a second thought is not the person who was ever going to hold you the way you deserve. And it's better to know that now than to spend months or years chasing a version of love that only lives in your imagination. Chasing keeps you stuck in a cycle. It feeds anxiety, not connection. You analyze their every move. You craft messages instead of expressing yourself. You live in a state of emotional scarcity where the tiniest gesture feels like a reward. You call it love, but really it's survival. And real love doesn't feel like that. Real love feels safe, clear, mutual. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to shrink for it. You don't have to earn it by giving more than you're getting. Pulling back is hard, especially when your heart is involved, especially when you've convinced yourself that just a little more effort might tip the scale. But what if the scale isn't broken? What if it's just balanced in a way that reflects the truth of where this person really stands? You can't build a relationship on potential. You can't grow something meaningful when only one person is planting seeds. You need someone who's showing up, not someone you're constantly trying to pull into the light. When you stop chasing, you allow the energy to reset. You show yourself what it means to prioritize your own emotional health. You stop living in reaction to someone else's inconsistency and you start choosing how you want to feel. That's powerful. Is when you chase, you're not just chasing them, you're chasing the version of yourself that they'll finally choose. And in doing so, you abandon the version of yourself that already knows her worth. Sometimes we think that walking away means giving up. But what if walking away is actually the first time you're choosing yourself over the idea of being chosen? You don't have to convince someone to be ready. That's not your job. Your job is to be clear about what you need and courageous enough to walk away when it isn't being met. Your job is to know the difference between love and longing and to choose peace over potential. So when he's not ready, don't lean in, don't try harder. Don't lower your standards in the hope that he'll finally rise to meet them. Pull back, not out of punishment, but out of self-respect, because the right person won't let you pull back too far. They won't watch you walk away without reaching for your hand. And if they do, then all you've done is create space for someone better to walk in. Someone who doesn't make you chase, but instead meets you halfway every single time. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that time spent with someone is proof of emotional depth. You look back on all the moments you've shared, the late night conversations, the inside jokes, the physical closeness, the trips, the texts, and the way it all felt like something meaningful. It's natural to think that the length of time you've known someone should count for something. And it does, but not always in the way we want it to. Because the truth is, emotional investment isn't measured in months or years. It's measured in presence, in consistency, in the effort someone puts into the relationship today. Just because you've been involved with someone for a long time doesn't mean they're emotionally invested now. And just because you've shared history doesn't mean you'll share a future. We get attached to time. We say things like, but we've been seeing each other for 6 months, or we've been talking every day for over a year, as if that alone justifies continuing, no matter how inconsistent or unavailable the person is now. We use the past as evidence that we should be close, that we deserve a commitment, that a relationship must mean something. But time is not a contract, it's not a promise, it's not even always a sign of progress. Some people will stay in your life for months or even years without ever fully choosing you. They'll be physically present, but emotionally distant. They'll enjoy your company, but avoid defining the relationship. They'll keep you around because it's comfortable, not because they're building something with you. And the longer you stay, the more you start convincing yourself that your investment has to pay off eventually, like you're waiting for a return on emotional effort. But you're not in a partnership. You're stuck in a waiting game. That's why it's so important to stop focusing on how long you've been connected to someone and instead look at how deeply they show up. Are they consistent? Do they prioritize your needs? Do they follow through on what they say? Do they give you clarity? Or do you spend most of your time wondering where you stand? When someone is emotionally invested, it's not just about gestures or promises. It's in the little things, the effort to understand you, the willingness to grow together, the way they make you feel secure even when things are hard. They don't leave you guessing. They don't disappear when it's inconvenient. They're in it with you, fully and intentionally. And when that's missing, no amount of time can make up for it. It's tempting to stay simply because you've already stayed for so long. The thought of starting over feels exhausting. You don't want to walk away and feel like all of it was for nothing, so you hold on tighter, hoping they'll finally give you what you've been waiting for. But that's how you lose even more time. That's how you sink deeper into a relationship that takes more than it gives. And sometimes the only way to protect your future is to stop clinging to the past. You owe it to yourself to stop measuring your relationship by how long it's lasted and instead by how well it's working for you right now. Are you growing? Are you happy? Are you seen and heard? Or are you constantly pouring energy into something that leaves you drained? The past may be full of sweet memories, but what are they building toward? Are you still evolving together? Or are you stuck in a loop of almosts and maybes? Time alone can't answer that. Only consistent emotional effort can. If someone wants to be with you, they'll show it now, not just in the beginning, not just when it's convenient, and not just when they feel like losing you. They'll show up every day with presence, commitment, and care. They won't rely on the past to justify their absence in the present. Don't let nostalgia keep you tied to someone who isn't growing with you. Memories are powerful, but they aren't a foundation. What matters is what's happening now, how they treat you now, how they love you now, how they choose you now. If they're still unsure, still distant, still avoiding real commitment, it doesn't matter how long you've known them. What matters is that you're still not getting what you need. And you deserve to be with someone who doesn't need time as an excuse. Someone who knows what they want and isn't afraid to give it. So let go of the idea that time equals value. Let go of the guilt that comes from walking away after investing so much. Time isn't lost if you learn something from it. It's only wasted if you keep using it as a reason to stay in something that's hurting you. Relationships aren't built on time. They're built on trust, effort, and shared direction. If you don't have those things, it doesn't matter how long someone has been in your life. You're not building a love story. You're just stuck in a chapter that refuses to end. You are allowed to say, this isn't enough for me anymore, even after months or years. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to walk away. Because time is not a reason to settle. And love is not something that should have to be earned through patience alone. It's not about how long someone stays. It's about how fully they show up when they do. Sometimes the hardest truth to accept is that walking away from someone you care about doesn't mean you failed. It means you've chosen yourself. When you're in love or emotionally attached, the idea of leaving feels like giving up. It feels like you're throwing away something that could be beautiful if only the timing were right, if only they were ready, if only they would change. But there comes a moment when you realize that staying is costing you more than leaving ever could. That moment isn't easy, but it's powerful. It's the beginning of reclaiming your worth. People often think strength is holding on, that the longer you stay, the more loyal you are, the more you prove your love. But real strength, real courage, it's found in the decision to walk away from someone who can't meet you where you are, even when your heart wants nothing more than to stay. Because staying in a relationship with someone who's emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, or simply not ready doesn't make you loyal. It makes you unavailable to yourself. You're not here to rescue someone. You're not here to wait for them to finally be ready while your own needs are pushed to the side. Love isn't a project. It's not a mission. It's a connection between two people who are both choosing to show up. And if you're the only one choosing, the only one trying, the only one hoping for more, then it's not a relationship. It's a one-sided emotional tug of war. And eventually, it'll wear you down. Letting go is an act of self-respect. It's not an easy choice. In fact, it's one of the most painful decisions you'll ever have to make. But it's also the clearest signal you can send to the universe that you are no longer willing to accept less than you deserve. It's you saying, I'm not going to beg for love. I'm not going to wait to be chosen. I choose myself now. When you walk away, something shifts. The silence that follows may feel unbearable at first. You might replay every memory, question every decision, wonder if you gave up too soon. But over time, the fog starts to clear, and you realize that the peace you were craving wasn't going to be found in convincing them to stay. It was waiting for you in the moment you stopped trying. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you didn't care. It doesn't mean you didn't try. It means you finally accepted the truth that loving someone doesn't guarantee they'll love you the way you need to be loved. It means you recognize that someone else's indecision is not your burden to carry. You can hold love in your heart and still walk away with your head held high. When you let go of someone who's not ready, you open up space in your life for healing, for clarity, for someone who is ready. You make room for a relationship that doesn't leave you second guessing your worth. One where you don't have to chase or convince or beg for reciprocity. One where love feels like a steady flame, not a flicker that comes and goes with their mood or fear. There's beauty in choosing yourself. There's power in saying, this is not enough for me, even when it hurts. Because every time you choose to walk away from what no longer serves you, you step closer to the life and love you truly deserve. You begin to rebuild your confidence. You rediscover your voice. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's limitations. You might fear being alone. That's normal. But being alone with your peace is far better than being together in a relationship that leaves you feeling empty. Loneliness doesn't come from solitude. It comes from being with someone who makes you feel invisible. And you were not put on this earth to be invisible in someone else's story. You deserve to be with someone who is ready, someone who doesn't see your standards as pressure, but as a reflection of your self-awareness. Someone who chooses you openly, consistently, and without fear. And that kind of relationship doesn't arrive while you're still holding on to what's not meant for you. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to cry. Letting go is not about suppressing your emotions. It's about honoring them. Sit with your sadness, but don't let it convince you to go back to what broke you. Feel everything, but move forward anyway. You are not broken because someone couldn't love you. You are not less worthy because someone didn't choose you. Their inability to step up doesn't define your value, it defines their limitations. Your worth is constant. It is not conditional on someone else's readiness. So walk away, not with bitterness, but with peace. Not with anger, but with self-respect. Thank them for the lesson, for the growth, for showing you what you will never settle for again. And then close the door gently but firmly behind you. Every time you choose yourself, you reinforce the standard for how others should treat you. Every time you let go of what's not aligned with your growth, you make space for something that is. The love you're searching for is not behind you, it's ahead. But you'll only find it when you stop watering dead plants and start planting new seeds in fertile soil with someone who's ready to grow with you. Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's sacred. And sometimes the most powerful love story begins when you walk away from one that couldn't give you what you needed. Because in the end, the person you need to choose first is always you.